Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. Here we will share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, verses of victory, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul, to keep you on your path of purpose and navigate this thing called life with power and authority. This is Andrea Hines, and I'm your host for When Life Speaks, here on ALH Broadcasting, an affiliate of the Streaming Inspirational Broadcast Network. I am glad you accepted the invitation to join us tonight. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it is going to be a blessing to your life, it will be to someone else as well. So share, tag, start a watch party, and invite someone you know to join us. Then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to When Life Speaks. Oh my goodness, this is a big screen tonight. Miss my co-host, Lynn had a scheduling conflict, so she's not going to be with us tonight, but I am certainly glad to have you with me tonight. And say good evening to Francina. Hey there, Francina. How are you doing tonight, lady? I hope you're doing good. Hey there, Bernice. Good evening to you. Zerlina Abobi. Good evening to you. I saw you popped in on 8 at 8, I think, too. So I'm glad to have you with me this evening. Let's see, Ida Batts. I don't know that I spoke to you, Ida, and Linda Cooks. Good evening to you. Good evening. And I tell you what, I want to start this evening. You know, we always start with a little of our housekeeping things and things I need to tell you about and things that are going to be happening. We're going to be having a show with Pastor Steve Sims. He talked to us and came in one night and talked to us a little bit about leadership and some things that he was doing mentoring men. And he's going to be back on the program with us, and we are looking forward to having him. One of the villagers is going to be co-hosting with me, and that is none other than Francina Booker. And we're going to talk about senior sidebar. We're going to talk about some things that are really important to seniors. And even if you are not a senior, you need to come on the program so that you can understand some things and help the seniors out that are in your life. So we're going to be doing that in days ahead. Also, if any of you looking right now or catching the replay, if you would like to be a co-host and come on the show with me and just, we just have a conversation, have a good time. Please send me an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And I'd would be glad to have you on with me. And, we can explore those possibilities. So please let me know. There's Marsha Marcellus. Good evening to you. Glad to have you on this evening. And we did have a topic that we were exploring, and some of the village did help me and send in some comments and weighed in on what was on my heart. We need each other. Okay, let's just start there. We need each other. I don't care. And somebody gave ages. I think it was Angie Oliphant, whether we're 222, 52, or 82. It doesn't matter how old we are. We do need each other. And we talk a lot about legacy. We talk about, leaving a legacy. We have a responsibility to do that. And we also have a responsibility to pour into the generations coming behind us. There's a lot that we can share. There's a lot of information that they need to know, and they're only going to know it through the wisdom of those who have gone before. So I was thinking about that, and I thought, well, you know what? How do we do this? How do we bridge the generation gap? Because so often the conversation and the interaction between generations is not always positive. It's not always good. And we miss some things that we could be sharing, sometimes because of offense, sometimes because of anger. Sometimes because of preconceived notions. There are a lot of reasons that kind of get in the way. So I asked the village, I said, tell me, give me your take on how we can bridge this generation gap. And I had six of them weigh in, and I'm going to go through what they said, because at the end of it, when I looked at all of the comments and all of the things that they shared, we kind of wrapped them up. I kind of wrapped them up in about five different points. But for right now, I'm just going to go down the line. Excuse me, got some noise here on my phone. Pardon me, pardon me. I can make that go away. But I just want to tell you what the village had to say. And I'm going to start with Marie Kinsella. And Marie said, the best way to listen to what young people have to say before passing judgment. When you have effective chain of communication, you can learn from each other. So for full effectiveness, follow these rules. And she came up with 12 rules, and I'm going to give them to you. Now, if any of these really speak to you in a strong way, I want you to make a note of it, because it's going to be helpful to you by the time we get to the end of the program. But Marie said, listen, number one, to hear what the other person is saying. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the difference between listening and hearing. Receive the opinion, formulate the words, and that's think it through. So think before you speak. Speak your responses calmly. Digest both opinions. Agree to disagree. Remember, neither opinion is right or wrong. When in doubt, research the question. And no matter what, love is the key to salvation. And 12, her 12th point was, I am my brother or sister's keeper. Now that came in from Marie Kinsella. Now, Angie Oliphant, who's down in South Carolina, Angie said, to bridge the gap in generations, I think we need to treat each other simply like human beings. There you go. We all have the same basic needs. We need to meet those basic needs for others and embrace them for who they are. We need to stop assuming and get to know each other better. Get to know each other better. We experienced a death recently, and I kept thinking, I thought I knew this person, but I knew them only based on what my interaction had to be with them. But I didn't really know their life. I really didn't know what they did, or what they were interested in outside of that scenario. So sometimes we talk about, particularly in the church, we talk about serving with somebody. I'm serving with this person on this committee. I'm serving with them on that committee. But then every now and then we want to do life with somebody, and that's different. That takes getting to know them. That takes listening and hearing and having those meaningful conversations with them. So I thank you for that, Marie, and I thank you for that, Angie, for weighing in that way. Now, Bernice said we must be willing to listen carefully. Again, there's that listening. Be open minded to change, embrace differences, and to be able to look at things from a different perspective. And that is so very, very important. Everything is not going to be your way, and everybody is not going to see things your way. And when you come to talking about generations, particularly, that becomes important because we always think that the other generation doesn't understand us. They think we don't understand them. And there is a way that we have to be able to be comfortable in embracing those other perspectives. Pastor Gloria sent me three things, and I turned them into four things. And I know if you know Pastor Gloria at all, you've seen her on the programs and being a part of When Life Speaks, you can imagine what they are. So the first thing is, she said, I only know how to pray, listen to what the Holy Spirit says, obey instructions, and love them unconditionally. That's it. That's it. And that's all. Those four things. Those are four. She says that's all she knows how to do. And you know what, Pastor Gloria, if you're doing that, you're doing a good thing. You are doing a good thing. So I'm going to move on now to Francina. Francina started by saying set a time frame for family discussions, and I think that is something that is very important, and we'll get to it more near the end of the program. But we are so scattered. We're so scattered now because we're so busy. Everybody has their own agenda. Everybody has their own assignments. Timing is off. It used to be that if you came together at no other time, you came together at the dinner table and you sat down and you talked about the day. I remember with my grandson, when I would pick him up from school, sometimes the first thing that we would do, I would ask him, tell me about your day. Tell me about what you did. Tell me about the things that happened to you. And that's what we would do at the dinner table, void of electronic devices, I might add. No cell phones. There were no cell phones. There's not TV going. There's nothing going. We were concentrating on one another and what was going on with each of us. So setting that time is important. She also says pray so that you come to the table with the right attitude. Listening comes up again. And she says something very important. Repeat what you heard if necessary so that there is no misinterpretation. How many times have you been in conversation with somebody, generational or not, and you walk away thinking that they said one thing, they are thinking that they said something else, and things are carried on based on those two perceptions of the conversation, and they are not the same at all. So sometimes you have to repeat what you hear so that there is no misinterpretation and no misunderstanding. Go into the discussion with an open mind. You got to always be open minded, no judgment. Somebody else's point of view may differ from yours, but they should be allowed to express themselves without repercussions, without repercussions. Have you ever tried to be honest with somebody and transparent, and it just came back to bite you, and you thought, I wish I had never said that. I wish I had never let that person get that close in my head, and I'm sharing something that is very precious to me, and then to have it misused. Welcome input from the other person. Show your vulnerability and be transparent and honest. Very important words here. You were young once. Boy, oh boy, you were young once. And guess what? When you were young, you did not get it all right. You did not get it all right. You made some errors, and that's what got you to where you are right now, because there are lessons that you learned. Life has taught you some things. It's not always book education. It's not always a degree. Hey there, Angie. Yeah, yeah, and I just looked up at a comment. Bernie says sometimes you have to agree to disagree. That's absolutely right. But you can do that and leave the table and still leave the table in love and still leave the table respecting one another and still leave the table with an open invitation that, you know what, we're going to do this again. We're going to get together again. We don't write each other off and go in our different directions and say, that was a waste of time. I'm not going to do that again. No, 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 no. We keep it open and we keep ourselves at a posture of being excited and interested and anticipating what we can gain from one another, because we can. We can. We can share something. The younger generation has something to share. And we need to have all of that so that we can come to an understanding of what this life is all about and how to navigate through it. Let's see. Be willing to explain your feelings. Be willing to admit when you are wrong. Yep, we have made mistakes. We have made poor decisions. And most of all, don't allow bitterness or anger to have a foothold. Don't allow bitterness or anger to have a foothold. Kim Lyons Carpenter, and you guys can comment in the comment section. Don't hold back. You can. Kim Small Lyons Carpenter gave us 5 words, and they are, and 4 words in a phrase, I should say, and they are transparency, communication, conversation, understanding from all perspectives, and keeping God first. Keeping God first. So I looked at these things and I thought to myself, a lot of these are similar. And I thought, how do I package this? How do I take these things that the village has given me and come up with maybe 4 or 5 points that would help us going forward? Because it's like I said in the beginning, we cannot get through what we have to go through by ourselves. We can't live in a vacuum and we can't live on an island. And there are people in younger generations and even in our generation who are looking for and needing wisdom from someone else, wisdom from someone else's life, from their testimony. That's why when we started When Life Speaks, we talked about stories of strength and testimonies of triumph. Hey there, Carolyn Gore. Good evening to you. God bless you. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're talking about bridging the generational gap. So, all of those things come into play. We can't turn our back. And we've got to understand that nobody's going to do things just like we do them. But it doesn't mean that they don't have value. And sometimes, particularly with the younger generation, that's how we make them feel. And we don't want that to happen either. Sometimes you used to, when the generations lived together, there was always that opportunity to sit together and simply talk. That's why it always tickles me when young people will say, "Well, in your day, back in the day, when you were younger," and their perspective of what back in the day was is so far back in the day that you're thinking to yourself, "How old do you really think I am? My goodness." And the same thing with us on the flip side. We try to talk to them about things that they have absolutely no knowledge of. No knowledge of. I was looking at, and this has been some years back, I was watching the movie Superman, a Superman movie. And we were talking about, after the movie was over, we were talking about the phone booth. And my granddaughter was looking at me like, what is that? What is a phone booth? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. There are just so many little things, so many things that we grew up with, things that we grew through that are just good to share, good to open dialogue, good to be able to discuss so that it's not so difficult. So that it's not so difficult. So when I looked at all of this, I started with the one thing that I think is very important in order to even begin to think about bridging the generational gap. And that is about establishing relationship. We have got to be able to establish a relationship with the next generation. So, where and how do we begin? How do we begin to do that? Well, I felt like bridging that relationship is built on the foundation of the light and love of Christ. I'm going to stop right here and see what Bernice has to say. Bernice says sometimes older people make younger people feel inferior. Yes, so they may fear sharing the ideas, fearing their ideas. I tell you what, if we start at this foundation, Bernice, I think it'll help resolve some of that, because the foundation that I'm talking about is that foundation of the light and love of Christ in First Corinthians 13, with that God kind of love. If we start in a place of love, we can build that relationship. And I pulled a couple of things from that passage of scripture. It says, never give up. Never give up. Never give up. So this is something that we're going to have to be intentional about and be determined to do. And we're going to keep some of these points that we've been given tonight in our mind when we approach the younger generation. We can't approach them from a place of defeat, or a place where we've already almost written them off, or we're looking for an opportunity to correct. Everything is not correction. Everything is not correction. Sometimes we just need to listen and hear what's going on in their life. Uh, 1 Corinthians 13 says, cares more for others than for self. We need to care, and we need to show that we care about what's going on in their life, because it's important to them it needs to be important to us, at least important for us to understand. We need to be able to understand their thoughts and understand their feelings, and vice versa. They need to understand ours. They need to know where we're coming from, why we say what we say, why we do some of the things that we do. Corinthians 13, 1 Corinthians 13 also says, don't strut or have a swell head. You don't know it all. That's on either side of the generation. You don't know it all. And guess what? You are not always right. I don't care how much education you have. I don't care how much of life you have been through. You simply are not always right. Things change, things evolve, things happen. There are different life experiences that God will give all of us, all of us. But you have to understand that that is your experience, and somebody else has an experience as well, as well. And theirs is just as important to them as yours is to you. But unless you can come together in that relationship that you have built on that foundation, you'll never get to know those things. You'll never get to enjoy those things. You'll never get to embrace those things. The other thing is always look for the best. Speak from a positive place. Speak from a positive place. Don't always begin with something that is negative, or something that didn't happen, or let me tell you about this, or I need to let you know about that. No, no, no. Sometimes just take a step back and listen. Just let people talk. You'll learn so much if you just be quiet for a little bit and allow somebody else to speak. Allow someone else to speak. And you should have conversations that speak to them or with them, and not at them. When you're speaking to somebody, it's a dialogue that's going to be shared. If you're speaking at somebody, then you're not interested in hearing what they have to say. You're only interested in getting your point across. And too many times we speak at people rather than speaking to them. Okay? Remember that. Remember that. When you are speaking at someone, you're not interested. And it shows that you are not interested. It shows in your body language. It shows in the things that you say. And you know what? We have to also be intentional about paying attention. And that's that difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is about the sound. I hear what you're saying. But listening is about gaining an understanding of what you are saying. And that means you have to be paying attention, paying attention. Let's see, my mother constantly reminded us time changes and we change with time. Oh, that is good, Marcia. I like that. I like that. And that is so, so true. And the conversations that we have today will not be the conversations that we would have a month from now. They're not the same conversations we had a month before, because we are evolving, we are changing, we are growing, hopefully. And as we do that, we begin to see things differently. Our lenses change, and our perspective changes on many, many things. But if we shut down, if we don't build that relationship on that foundation of the light and love of Christ, look how much we will miss. Look how much we will miss. Oh, I tell you. Let's see. Never look back. That was the other one. Never look back. Let the last time be the last time. We have a habit. We have a habit, particularly if things don't go right or don't go well, of maintaining that posture to say, well, you know what, the last time we did this, such and such happened. Or, the last time you tried to do this, and so such and such happened. Let the last time be the last time. Let it go. You've got faults and flaws. They have faults and flaws. We all have faults and flaws. We don't always get it right all the time. But God doesn't bring up our mistakes. And we don't have to bring up anybody else's mistakes, because it just kills. I mean, it will squash any hope that we have of embracing one another and building that healthy relationship that we need, let's see. The other thing is to let go of secrets. Let those secrets go, 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 go. Let them go, let them go. Be vulnerable. You got to be vulnerable. You got to be transparent. You got to be able to share your personal experiences with wisdom, the good ones and the bad ones. And remember that you didn't go through what you went through just to keep it to yourself. God allowed you to go through it so that you could help somebody else. You know how many times that sometimes, and I think Bernice, someone mentioned fear. Uh, they're afraid to talk to us because they think that we never made a mistake. I don't want you to know about what I did because I don't think you ever made a mistake. And as long as you're thinking that, you're not willing to be honest. And if you're not willing to be honest and transparent, sometimes you will miss that very divine download of wisdom that you need to keep you moving in a good path, in a good place, and getting to a goal you may want to reach, or being able to help someone else, or being a blessing. Any of those things, any of those things. So we cannot get to that place where we don't want to be transparent. We want to be Holy Ghost Junior, and we just want to sit in a posture that says, I have never done anything wrong. You know how it makes somebody feel when they try to share something with you and your reaction is, oh my goodness. You know how that makes somebody feel? When you know that you have done that or worse, let go of some of that stuff. Be willing to be transparent and honest and open and share so that people understand. Guess what? Like Angie said before, 22282, we're all human beings. We've all made mistakes and we all need the opportunity to get it right. Yes, Marcia says we learn through our mistakes. Absolutely, lady. Yes, we do. The number 3, discussions are give and take to gain perspective, not to judge. They're give and take to gain perspective. And I think somebody else had mentioned that before. Um, you've made poor decisions. You've done some of those things. We all have, and we have to be willing to admit that and tell the lesson. Let somebody know what lesson you learned from that mistake that you made. Marcia says, no matter how old we get, we can, yes, we can learn. We can learn from the young and the old. That is so key. And Bernie says, I think one should stop judging by outer appearances. Good, good, good. Outer appearance, because the outside doesn't reflect what's on the inside of someone. That is so true, Bernice. And that is something that we do too often. Way too often, way too often. We can't make assumptions about people, and that's something that we talk about in terms of the millennials. You know, we perceive them to be entitled and lazy, and not wanting to do anything, and they get a bad rap sometimes because that's not who they are. We can't take everybody and put them in this bucket and say, well, that's everybody. That's how everybody acts between the ages of this and this. That's not what everybody does between the ages of this and this. Seniors are this. Millennials are this. Generation X is this. No, we are all people. And we need to get to know each other as people, as individuals, as unique creations, and see what God sees in them, just like we want them to see what God sees in us. Um, we talked about listening. Listening is paying attention to what you are hearing, thoughtful, undivided. Give people your undivided attention. Give them your undivided attention. When you're having that conversation, don't be texting. Don't be on your cell phone. Look people in the eye. Look them in the face. Pay attention. That lets them know that whatever they are saying to you has value, that it is meaningful, and that you care about what it is that they are saying to you. How about that? And the last thing, make it a priority. Put it on the top of your list. Put it in your things to do, that you are going to make it a point to get to know and to pour into the other generation. Okay? How about that? How about that? We just had a little time together tonight talking about bridging that gap. I hope it was helpful to you. I hope we said some things that might be a little nugget that will help you through, and get to know, build a relationship with somebody in another generation. Francina said, watch that body language. It speaks volumes. Yes, indeed, Francina, it does. Indeed, it does. And Bernice says, discernment doesn't take away, doesn't take everything for face value. Don't take everything for face value. There you go. Yeah, I got that. I got that. And you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I want to read you a little something from a poem I did a while ago about connection. And it says, God did not make me to stand alone. Part of the master's design was to give me a chance to touch someone's life and allow their life to touch mine. We need one another. You hear that? We need one another. That's for sure a point we should never forget. If we always treat others the way that we should, in our lives, there would be no regret. Remember that you are not an island. There's much that life holds for you. Embrace your connection with others and see just what God will do. So embrace your connection with the next generation. Embrace those opportunities that you have to listen and to learn. Embrace those times that you set aside to be able to just have dialogue, not correction, not looking at the things that are wrong, not wanting to talk about what happened in the past, but just stay in a place of positivity and openness and transparency so that you can gain all you can in terms of doing life with a generation that is different. Okay? Thank you. I hope this was helpful to you this evening. I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I look forward to us being back again. Remember, for those of you who may be new to the broadcast, if you would like to be a part of the village and join us in weighing in on some topics that we have, just either put it in the comment section there or send me an email to speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. Let me see. I would tell you what's going on next week, but I don't think I will. I think I'll let it be a surprise like I usually do. But I tell you what, I'll be right here at 7 p.m. for When Life Speaks, and I want you to come back. Please, please, please come back next week. You'll get a chance to turn down the volume of life for just a little bit and get ready to receive so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining.